I'm live.
So am I.
Oh my goodness, Heather, the weight, just the weight of this season.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like a Kardashian.
Oh
Oh,
no. Oh no. It's interesting. I feel
I'm
like I've
just,
been
oh,
like crying less, but
really?
there
That's interesting.
it is interesting. Well, no, maybe
Brag
that's
about
not
it. Why don't you?
true. Sorry.
Just kidding.
Sorry.
No,
No,
don't be
that's maybe
sorry.
not true, but there's like I think that I still it's I think that I feel like more like myself and more powerful than I have in a very long time. But I
I
also
hear that.
feel, yeah, like very Saturn return good vibes.
Yes.
But there is an underlying sadness that I'm still trying to get out of, I think.
Mm.
Um
You think is like you think that underlying sadness is stemming from Pisces season, or you think it's more just like with the Saturn return overall, or just a you
Actually,
thing, a birth chart? Yeah, please, please.
I think that what I was just gonna say before you brought up if it's a Pisces thing was a very Pisces statement. I'm now realizing is that like I feel like I'm seeing I'm seeing my old self again, and I'm like feeling more like myself than I have in a while and feeling more confident than I have in a while. But with that comes like, okay, I want to get to that next level. I want to get to like the ideal version of myself, I guess,
Your
where
higher
like
self.
yes, which is very Pisces. You like see the
Yeah,
ideal, but then there's kind of like this sadness when you're not there yet, if that makes sense.
I girl, girl does it, honey,
Yeah,
does it
how have
make
you been
sense?
feeling?
No, I just well, first and foremost, thank you so much for speaking on that, Heather Cunningham, you beautiful astrological ascending angel, literal
Oh,
angel on top of the treetop that is astrology. I
oh,
love you to death.
stop.
No, I just love the way you said that. Because for my Miranda astrology, still very astrology beginner novice level brain, that's
Oh,
exactly how I would just like describe. Oh, there's just so many layers, Heather. I'm
I
not
know,
even trying
I
to put
know.
myself down with that. I'm owing, that's more as a an ode to astrology as a whole, in the way that I'm just breaking through the surface.
Right.
But no, I do feel like I'm, the more and more I study it, the more and more I do feel connected to it. And you're right. I might say I'm a little more leaning towards intermediate, if I do say so myself.
Oh yeah,
um
definitely. You pick
I
it
would,
up so fast. I don't even have to like really explain things and you like got it.
well, I mean, the moment you brought, like, I again, I remember the day vividly that you brought up sun, moon, and rising, and I said, "What's that now?"
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of people find out about the sun, moon, and rising, and it's such an eye roll of like, oh, there's more, or like, oh, so it's all extra fake because your sun actually doesn't
I
mean
hate
anything at
that. I
all.
hate that.
And I think in my experience, I mean, maybe you can attest, I was just like, there was an excitement for me about that. There was so
Yes.
much that was like, that fucking checks out. Like, there was just a
Mhm.
lot that was more of like, I was like, that, thank you. It was almost like I was waiting for someone to tell me that. Like, I was wondering. And you just opened up a world for me that I can't, like, I owe you forever for that. But
Oh.
anyways, but yeah, so I think that that's not agreeing that I get it down fast. I do think that, again, though, when I'm really interested in something, I go out of my
Mhm.
way to research it and learn more about it.
That Gemini
Um,
moon.
that Gemini moon, honey.
Mhm.
But yes, you're right. I do think more recently I would say I'm a little more intermediate.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and because of that, I'm definitely, but it's also, the reason I can tell that is because I've just overall, we've talked about this, the more I study this, the more spiritual I feel, the more spiritual I've become, the more spiritual connected I am. And what a season to really tap into that. Like, I
Mhm.
totally hear you about
Mhm.
wanting to reach like a higher self or a higher point, ascend, if you will.
Mhm.
And I've also, that returning to self, it's been really, you use the word powerful, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's been a really powerful, there's almost like, I don't want to call it an awakening, but a returning. And we
Mm-hmm.
are in the peak of our Saturn returns, but there's something extra charged about right now, what's happening in the sky, specifically this season. It's all so loaded, and it's all like at this sort of like peaking point, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. I don't know if I'm completely speaking false to that, and I'm sure we'll get into it more. But yeah, everything feels really charged right now. But
Yeah.
also, you're so right. That is Pisces. Didn't you say this, Heather? Maybe it wasn't you who said this, or maybe I read it or heard it, but there is like they almost like Pisces is like the sign of sorrow or something, or there's
Mm.
almost like a phrase for that it's like there is, and like I think we talked about this the last episode about like Pisces and loss,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sort of
That's a
like
big
this.
thing. Yes.
What do you mean by that? Please, sorry. I think you touched on it a little bit last episode, so I apologize for
Yeah.
asking again. But
No,
in
yeah.
terms of like, yeah, is that the underlying sadness you're feeling? Is it like terms of loss?
No, I
Sorry,
think
I
for
just
me,
threw 8 questions at you.
yes. No, no, no. These are good questions though. I think what I've been feeling is more like trying to figure out what I need to lose kind of in order to
Mm.
become the person I really want to be. Maybe is
Mm.
more the loss that I've
Interesting.
experienced a lot of loss in my life, and that's like a big thing for me. And every time I have to like go through it, it feels like next level hard. But
Oh,
all the water signs do deal with the theme of loss and rebirth to a certain extent, because when you go through the seasons, it starts with fire, earth, air, water. Then we kick it off again with fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth,
mm.
air, water, Pisces being the very last water sign. So each of the water signs sort of like bring you into the next, fire, bring you into the next cycle.
Right.
Pisces is an extra dose of that because it's literally the last zodiac sign.
It has
Um,
something to say before the rebirth of the zodiac
the
signs.
whole
Yeah.
zodiac. Yeah.
Also, Heather,
So,
it's just as you were saying that, and you said seasons, and I know you were talking about astrological seasons, my brain just did happen to think of seasonally. Like I know you're in LA, and as we know, I'm in Brooklyn, but like, so I do experience seasons in a way that I miss LA and wish I didn't.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of beauty to seasons, and
Yeah, for sure.
I'm so spoiled and not jaded by it because of the fact that I grew up majority of my life out of seasons,
Yeah.
growing up in Florida and then moving to California. But there is such a humanity to seasons, and people talk about
Mm-hmm.
this here, that like you, especially if like I live really close to a park, and I really enjoy walking in that park, and I really enjoy walking in it year round. It's really fun to be in the park and watch the seasons change, like physically, literally before my
Right.
eyes.
Yeah.
And there's something that keeps me so in tune with the seasons. And I do sort of love that there's a change, because the pacing of the city changes depending on the
Right.
season, like the overall vibe of the city changes and stuff like that. Wow, it's now hitting me that Pisces is in spring. What a funny lineup,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. I
coincidental
mean,
lineup.
Aries
And before
kicks
we go
off the
literally
spring
into hot
equinox. Yeah.
summer. Oh, it is
Mm-hmm.
it Aries that kicks off spring equinox?
Yeah.
I
And
thought
it's a
it was in
cardinal sign.
Pisces. Oh, okay.
I right? It's March
March
20th
is
this
sort of
year.
like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Oh, like so right at the end of Pisces, beginning of Aries is usually when spring falls. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I know spring like hasn't hit by my birthday, and then sometimes my birthday has literally fallen on spring.
Oh, okay.
I want to say.
Okay.
I think it just depends. But
Yeah, yeah.
maybe on a leap year or something crazy. Anyways,
Right, right.
um
Yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's very
uh,
symbolic,
but you know what I
that
mean?
cycle of it.
That's
Yeah.
or it's and not even, oh, did that pick up? And I don't even think that yeah, or just even the way that Pisces is exactly like the end of Pisces is sort of the start of spring anyway. So it's like that last little bit of like cold. And again, like we talked about Pisces being sort of the actual end of the year in terms of
Mhm.
astrologically,
Mhm.
instead of December. It makes a lot of fucking sense. It like happens at
Yes.
the end. Like we finish out the cold in Pisces and get the like
Mhm.
the little sprinkles of warmth, and then
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You can't make this shit up.
You can't make this shit up if you tried, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. I love that.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah.
Okay,
And
I'm so
like,
sorry. Anyways, we were talking about Pisces being sad.
yeah. Yeah, but it's sad and it's also like reflective. I like thinking of it as the hibernation period before Aries is just out of all the signs in the zodiac, Aries is the most about we're not thinking, we're doing. We're getting shit
Mm,
started and we are shooting from the hip and like here I am, hear me roar. Like
mm,
so I think there's something I mean there's of course something special to the end of the zodiac starting anew, but like Pisces having this spiritual reflective quality um where we can think about our ideal life and then moving into Aries like fucking
right.
go for it.
No, I totally hear that. That is kind of how I feel right now. I feel really like I've been feeling really productive, really charged, but also very like I'm in a state of rest. Like it's really interesting that you say that hibernation stage because like I almost do feel like that's a lot of what my reflection that I'm happening is a place of resting now, preparing, and it's a lot of like preparation for
Yeah.
this upcoming new
Mhm.
astrological year.
Mhm.
Wow. That's just
Mhm.
really it's extra loaded that
Yeah.
it aligns with the seasons like that. That's
Yeah.
really fun.
Have you been having
Ooh.
these Saturn return moments of like things occurring and then you realizing like wait, I react to that because of like my past, not because that's who I am? Is it just me that's having that in extra doses lately? Like,
Interesting.
because they
That's
say that
really
that's a part of
interesting.
Saturn return is like weeding out like what's from your parents, what's from your childhood, what's from like just all the things you've experienced in life versus like no, who I am I without all of that.
It's almost like the Saturn return is a little bit in touch with the ego death, if I
Hello.
dare say so myself.
I read somewhere that the ego is actually like fully develops at 30.
Wow.
Um but yeah,
Wow.
which I feel like you have to kill the ego in order to develop it, right?
Right. Well, and I think there is such an importance to the ego, but
Yes.
there's also such an importance to being aware of your ego. And I wonder if just like the fully developed stage of like your ego, it just more means like you're more in control of it. Maybe not.
Yes. No, I'm feeling that lately for sure.
Yeah, I'm just a little more aware of it. I think this is what happens when you get older, or maybe it's just this sort of era where we find ourselves in of this kind of going into the age of Aquarius. Like there's something about getting older where you're just it's not that you don't have anything to lose, but like you're at a place mentally, you hope one gets here, but you're at a
Mhm.
place like mentally and you've matured enough in a way that you're more interested in joining forces than fighting forces, if that makes
Right.
sense. And I think
Yes.
you're more interested in being aligned as a whole than like
Yes.
petty differences that like you maybe were interested in high school, for example.
Well said.
Does that make sense? Like I feel
Totally.
like I definitely feel that happening with myself. And it's really, but again, I can't tell if that's like I can't tell if that's just sort of so it goes as you get a little older, or how
Mhm.
much of that is also, again, like I said, the time we find ourselves in.
Right. I think both. I think both.
I think our generation, especially, is more. I
Yes.
think we're so aware and of if we're super divided or not together more, the things we want
Mhm.
and the big changes won't occur. I think we have enough like understanding of that and experience with that already.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I love our generation. I'm
Me
really,
too. We're so
it's really
psychologically
special.
focused. It really, yeah,
It's
it makes me
it's a
extra
beautiful thing.
excited for this Aquarius time we're entering.
Like as much as like Pisces are known for being like old souls, I know that they get that rep and how
Mhm.
like they're connected with like the spiritual realm in a sense that they've like that's where their intuition comes from. That's where like the idea of like it's a trusted intuition, or like
Mhm.
Pisces feels something before it understands something or knows something.
Yes.
That's like a lot of like, I've been reminded of that recently too. Sorry,
Mm.
that's something I wanted to say. I'm
Yeah,
having a lot of
yeah.
reflection of like, not like I can't be wrong about things. Absolutely not. Please. But, and my judgment can be skewed. Sure, I'm human. But sort of that remembrance and that like reminder of like, but in major, major moments, my gut really has steered me correctly. Or I've
Yeah.
just sort of had a little tingly spidey sense that I can't explain. I'm not trying to say
Yeah.
Pisces has powers, but like
No.
it's been a really beautiful time to be reminded during this time that like if something doesn't fucking feel right or something feels off to me internally, it usually fucking is. I'm
Yeah.
usually not paranoid. Something
Yeah.
usually is
Yeah.
like, and that's great. That's usually how I know how to change it. And a lot of times I'm like, I can't explain it. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. Something's
Yeah.
off. I gotta
Yeah.
look into that because something's not right. And I don't
Right.
know. So I have been, it's been nice to sort of be reminded of that, that I'm allowed to
Yeah.
trust that. And then I'm at
Yeah.
an age where like it's never been sort of more right, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Do
I've
you
learned from times my gut's been off. Please,
yeah.
Heather.
I guess you were just saying this, but I wanted to really explicitly ask. Do you feel like you're like really good at on like hearing your intuition and following it? Like do you feel like you have a strong relationship with it? I
More recently, yes. And that's again, I think part of just studying astrology more and getting and just becoming more spiritual in my age.
Mhm.
And more spiritual overall and really getting, I was already, again, I think I've said this a billion times, but moving to LA, it's kind of hard not to be a little more spiritual there. It is very like LA still has her like liberal hippie roots,
Oh
and a
yeah.
lot of things there are just more of like progression forward in a sense that
Yeah.
I don't know. It does just like I definitely just got a lot more in touch with spirituality, and I also just doing yoga in general, but like, and again,
Right.
very, very West Coast,
Yeah.
but just also understanding where that I like just understanding where the root of yoga comes from and how it's more derived for the sake of your mental too, and how like our West Coast doesn't sort of, or West Coast, our Western
Mhm. Mhm.
sphere
Yeah.
sort of doesn't like
Value.
value the mental health part. And
Mhm.
living in LA, I think that was being from Florida, moving to LA, it's way more fucking liberal and in your face liberally than
Yes.
Florida was.
Oh yeah.
Just completely different branding, right?
Mhm.
In a way that I really loved and appreciated. So I feel like that's when I started getting a lot more in touch more with astrology and spirituality. Um and just continuing my friendship with you, obviously.
Oh.
But then COVID really brought a lot of out of me as well. And I
Mm.
just had so much more time on my hands to sort of like really embrace a lot more spiritual practices and really like actually have time to practice them. And that was like great because it's something I've continued even though like working full time is something I'm doing again, for example.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So what was your original question, Heather? I'm so sorry.
You feel like you have like a strong relationship with
Land
your
the plane.
intuition. No, you're fine.
Yes.
You
So I was
answered
going
it.
to say, like, as of more recently, yes. But when I first moved to LA, wasn't so in touch more with the spiritual side, but was, doing yoga, but not so much with the intention of for my mental health. I think I was just like, oh, I like this is an exercise that I actually enjoy. But that's sort of when I was really severely, severely anxious, and I didn't know it at the time. And I hadn't been diagnosed with like severe anxiety. Well, I hadn't been diagnosed with adult ADHD, which to me and from my understanding and from my psych's understanding was the main root and cause
Right.
of my severe anxiety. But
Yeah.
like that time I would say absolutely not connected, and it shows, and like in a way that I just could not get ahead of myself there for a while, or I was
Yeah.
just very, very low vibration, really, really heavy, really going through a lot of internal good stuff that I do, like looking back, like it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. Like looking
Right.
back, like was, I think just an early going through my early 20s and really being on my own was a big, big part of that weight. But yeah, so I would say more recently because of doing the inner work, yada
Yeah.
yada, working
Yeah.
with a therapist. I don't mean to joke about that. I
No,
don't know.
no.
It's Pisces. I can't be sincere, but I want to.
Yeah.
but yeah, like I, year longer I've been in therapy, longer I've gotten more spiritual, longer I've studied
Yeah.
astrology, to be quite honest, folks. What
Yes.
about you? How
Yes.
do you feel about like your intuition?
Uh,
I know
it's
you're not
something.
a Pisces, but it doesn't mean you can't trust it. You're also still part
Yes.
of the, I'm so sorry, remind me again, Heather, because we're part of the last four signs,
The universal.
universal
Yes.
signs,
Yes.
sorry.
Or
Yes.
transpersonal, some
Or
people
the
call it.
transpersonal signs. So
Yes.
like, yeah, what about your experience with your intuition?
I feel like I have a really, really strong intuition and that I try very hard to lead by that. And I think in most cases
Mm.
I do, but I've also been fucking wrong. And it like, especially in recent years, has like fucked me up a
Oh,
little bit. Like just feeling like I like I'm an Aquarius in the last degree of Aquarius, but like I have all these Pisces planets attached to my Aquarius sun, and I
right.
feel like I have this issue where I just like can so easily go into the nebulous space of Pisces, so easily daydream, and astrology like supports it for me. Like I love to wake up in the morning and like think about my life and look at what's happening symbolically and just like think about what's going to happen next. And but then I get into this weird trap where like it's almost like my head is battling with my heart, or like the things I can imagine are clouding reality. Is this all making sense? Like
100%.
it's like because I have such a strong intuition, I think that I also can be very delusional.
I listen, what you just described too, Heather, like your head and your heart. I've always described, I feel like being a Pisces is just being at war with yourself because you're constantly fighting with this like imaginary, beautiful, like
Right?
dreamy side of things. And then the fact that you're in reality. That's the war. Like
Yeah.
that is the war you're fighting with yourself all the time. Is that it's like these daydreams are, they are obtainable in your way and in your view, and then the way society is set up is that it's impossible to obtain.
Yeah.
So there's sort
Yes.
of a broken heart, and I think that's a big part of like Pisces sorrow, if you want to call
Oh
it that, or
yeah,
like the
absolutely.
underlying sadness of what being a Pisces is because it's like you can see it and it's right there. If everyone else could just open their fucking eyes
I
a little
know. I
more
know.
to like the bigger picture.
Totally.
And I think that's why it's so like that comment, like Pisces is known for being misunderstood, right? I think all the water signs are, but I think Pisces mainly is the one that's like known as the misunderstood sign,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
and not in like a, I guess that is more in like a, I want people to see things my way, but not like I
Yeah.
want my way. Like we would literally all kind of benefit from this if y'all could just like
Right.
open your minds a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we were just talking about Kurt Cobain before we started recording,
Yes.
and I literally
Yes.
was thinking about Kurt Cobain when I was driving home from work today. I don't remember why. I was like thinking about Pisces symbolism, I think, and the
Mm.
idea of like heaven on earth. And like that's like what Pisces aspires to, and the fact that like Nirvana is called Nirvana and he's a Pisces, I think is like really beautiful
Yeah.
and really
No.
tragic at the same time because
Yeah, like we
obviously,
said, his
yeah,
chart full of water.
yeah.
Kurt Cobain really like it's in the lyrics, it's in the art, it's in, again, another Pisces musician or like a Pisces. It's fun today too, Heather, that the charts we're doing today are not very opposite of like musician types, but we'll get
Oh,
into that in a
yes,
minute.
yes, yeah.
But just another Pisces who's like a musician, and like that shit came out in his art and like the way he expressed himself. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm right there with you. Or like, yeah, I find it fascinating. I really got into a huge Nirvana thing in college. I remember I was like going through my parents' CDs once when I was a little kid, and they had the Nirvana one with the I think it smells like Teenage Spirit, and it's got the little baby like
Oh, yeah,
swimming
yeah,
on the
yeah.
cover in the pool, and I was like, oh my god, this is grotesque.
I know.
Mommy, daddy. Um, this isn't Britney Spears. Um, I'm in the wrong section. Um, And then I got into a huge like spiral of Nirvana and did like a whole
Mhm.
rabbit hole, and like I can't, but at the time I wasn't looking at charts, baby, like I do today.
Right? I know.
Um but yes, anyways, yeah, there is just there's also, like, besides it being Pisces season, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, there's we talked about this last episode, but a lot of shit hitting the fan with these planets.
Oh
Or
my
I guess maybe
god,
the opposite. A lot
major.
of these planets, like a lot of
It's
these planets hitting
shifts.
the fan.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Shifts.
No, I mean, this month is fucking huge astrologically. It's there's yeah,
What's
I feel
going
like we're
on?
revving up for a lot of big changes on a global scale. And because you and I like have these Pisces, planets, it's probably affecting us a little bit harder. And it's our Saturn
It's
return.
so intense.
So yeah, I am like bracing myself for the next few weeks, but I'm also excited. I mean, but Saturn's moving into Pisces literally tomorrow. We're recording this on March 6th. It's happening on the 7th at the same
Wow.
time as the Virgo full moon, and then Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 26th, I
Wow.
believe, before the end of the month. So, and then there's
Huge.
the astrological new year wrapped up in that, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, again, it's a time for reflection, folks. It's a time for ebbs and flows. We are riding out the Pisces wave, not storm,
Mhm.
just
The
wave.
wave, the wave.
And the wave, she's got some drops. She's got some chops.
Mhm.
But all in all, she's fun and necessary if you want to swim in
Mhm.
the ocean.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've been having a lot of dreams
Mm.
around water, in water,
Oh.
surround like regarding water. And that just hit me recently. And it just it's almost like it feels like I've been having these dreams since the new year, the calendar new year. Um and it just, yeah, it feels like it's a big time. I'm not trying to like overthink these dreams, but
Right.
more recently I have been like, were these dreams sort of like prepping me for a big Pisces moment, a Pisces season? Like,
Oh.
it's been really interesting that they're around water a lot. A lot of my dreams though, like since I've been younger, revolve water, and I'm sure that's just a maybe just a dream thing, but
Right.
it's interesting that I'm all of a sudden getting like back to back to back water dreams. I'm just now remembering and
Yeah.
realizing like a lot of times it's not rare that I have a water dream. It is rare that I'm having like consistent dreams about water.
Yeah.
And I have not been
Wow.
wetting the bed or anything weird. Okay, so don't even start with me, listeners.
Oh, that does sound
Um,
significant though.
right? Like as we're talking about it
Yeah.
now, it's hitting me. And I find that
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you have deja vu a lot?
Always.
Me too. Like more than I dream, I have deja vu. And I really like
Wow.
I now see deja vu as like, oh, this is significant. Like I try to remember when it happens and I'm like, oh wait, this was important. Or I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I guess
Yes,
deja vu
a
you
glitch in the matrix, if you will.
yes,
They
exactly.
like to say that it's like your brain accidentally it files your memories. I don't think they've proven deja vu still. It's still, this is only a theory that your brain files your memory away too fast and it accidentally files it into long-term memory as in the memory is old instead of filing it into short-term newer recent memories. It's like it
Interesting.
accidentally, like your brain just messes up, and that's why you get the sensation of deja vu. Mhm.
Hmm.
I think it's a glitch in the matrix.
I think
Very
it's
cute.
us being a part of the universe, tapping into the higher knowledge, knowing what is going to
Please.
come. And then, yes,
Please.
yes.
Please. No, yeah, yeah, that's really,
I love
don't get
it.
me started on the Matrix, Heather.
Yeah, I know.
No, but yeah, and it's just really interesting because I think I told you this, Heather. I know I've talked about the dream with my grandpa, my Pisces grandfather, who
Mhm.
passed away last year, last summer. Um, who I was, again, I had an intuition. I had like a future feeling, a premonition,
Mhm.
if you will. Just kidding.
Mhm. Mhm.
That I was like, I feel like there's going to be some type of sensation, some type of message, some type of way that I hear from grandpa once he passes in a way that's going to be very huge for me. It's like I'm not kidding. Like I had a feeling. We knew he was going to pass that year. We just sort of had a feeling, but it was also the timing of how like connected that year was to the grandfather, the fact that my grandfather like specifically that year in my chart for me. And I think it also the year of the tiger talks about the connection with the grandfather. So that was like I that was also I think loaded into like me kind of having a feeling that he was going to pass and that I was maybe going to get
Right.
a visit from him. That dream too, my Pisces grandfather, me, the Pisces granddaughter, he's the patriarchy, the top of that family chain. I'm the
Mhm.
last Lenski. It's that side of the family. Was also set in water. That just hit
Whoa.
me. We were in
Whoa.
his Florida pool. In every dream,
Miranda.
that's what it was. And I had this dream like right after. And as we're talking right now, I just realized every dream I've had since then, even if he's not in it, which he hasn't been in one since, has been a water dream. That's really fucking interesting.
Whoa, that is
And then I'll have to explore that.
wow.
I'll have to
Maybe
pull
this
a
is
tarot.
all, yeah, maybe this is all an indication that you're like on the right path, like tapping into the more spiritual side of life, that it fits with your Pisces archetype. It's,
Maybe,
or there's probably something even more than that, obviously, but
perhaps. But
we'll wait
again,
and see.
in Pisces season, there's a little something for all of us.
Yes, yes.
That's what I love about this sign too. I know we have to get into the charts, Heather, and we
Mm-hmm.
will, but that's just I just feel like there's something for everyone to get out of this season. And I don't selfishly mean that. I just
Yeah,
mean like,
yeah.
and you should.
Right.
You just by having an astrological sign alone, you are a part of Pisces. That's like the way Pisces works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and we can
Totally.
get more into that.
Yeah.
But all right,
Ooh.
let's get into the charts, Heather. Oh, Heather, a
Oh,
couple of
Miranda.
a couple of artists we have today in their respective realms.
Yeah, no, that's
Not
true.
quite what we've covered
Uh-huh.
so far, but
Yeah.
still very quite artistic if I dare say so.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Do you want to go first with yours? I think I went first
Sure.
last time with
I'll
mine.
go
So
first. I'll go first. It's fun. The most Pisces of them all, Steve Jobs. Am I right?
I mean, if we think about it, Apple is an art form. Like it,
Oh
or
my
not an art
God.
form, but like I think Steve Jobs brought art to technology.
Oh,
Like he
yes.
made it something that like, and my Pisces ass loves how pretty this shit is.
No,
Like,
that's
especially my Taurus rising. But like, yeah, I feel like
we
he made Apple into art. Like
totally. That
yeah.
is, yes, exactly. I was literally going to go on a spiel about this. Like,
Please.
yes. Well, yeah, no, literally. Like, I feel like the main reason Apple is so successful, and everyone, I feel like I feel like people have like shit on Steve Jobs because I guess Steve Wozniak was really like the brains behind like the tech and everything, but like Steve
Mm,
Jobs brought the art,
the
yeah, like
flavor,
yeah, and it's
the
so
color,
Virgo
the
rising that it's,
technology.
yes, yes, that it's also so sleek and so like user
Mhm.
friendly. But let me, because this just popped in my head, a really quick
Please.
story about how
Please.
important like the aesthetics of something are. When I was in like fourth grade, I forgot that I had a science fair project due until the day before it was due, where we literally, like, I needed to have
Classic
a
me.
whole fucking poster board. I needed to do the experiment. And, like, I remember
I swear
realizing
the
this.
exact same thing has happened to me. You
It's
had happened to me
very Pisces.
like more than once.
Like, I realized this and I told my mom,
Like
and
hadn't missed
like,
a single class. Like
yeah,
you're all of a sudden she's like the teacher's like or they're just like reminder this is
yeah,
due tomorrow and you're like
shit, yeah.
mom. Okay, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So I
It's so
told
funny
my
that takes
mom,
me back.
and we freaked out. But then, and you know, we like pulled it together last minute, but we also, there's like a theme in my life, honestly, where like in the moments when I'm really under pressure, it's like also that's the energy that I need to like make something really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And but
I
whatever,
agree.
you know, we pulled it together like so quickly, me and my mom. And then I'll never forget. We go to school like 2 days later, and they're announcing, like the morning of, we're all in the gym, and they're announcing like the winners of the science fair for each grade. And I fucking placed third place. And it is only because, I swear to you, it is only because my board was the prettiest board. We spent
Mm,
so much time just making the shit look good. And it really
mm,
was. It was the prettiest project of all of them.
mm-hmm.
And very straightforward, very easy to understand. And yeah, third place. I was like gobsmacked.
That's
But
so
anyway,
funny,
it's a
Heather.
testament to Apple and Steve Jobs' contribution, I
Also,
think.
that is, I know that like you have your Pisces undertones, but like again, that's so Aquarius too, of
Oh my
like
god.
just like an air sign. Oops,
Yeah,
forgot this is due last minute, and then whips it out, and then it's third. Like that's so air to me, which is really funny.
yeah.
Um, Real quick, well, I have a question. Is Pisces like known for liking pretty things? Or like are like appearances, maybe not appearances, beauty, is beauty important to Pisces?
I would say more so inner beauty. I would
Mm,
say it's like not one of the signs that I would peg. It's not a superficial sign. So it's like
interesting.
it appreciates beauty for sure. They say that Neptune is like the exalted version of Venus, which is literally the planet of beauty, but it's more an evolved sense of beauty. It's more like being able to see the beauty in the ugly and the beautiful
Mm,
and how it all comes together, if that makes sense.
no, I totally get you.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I also, when I was like younger, like I when I was like really little, um it just like I remember in preschool getting in trouble because every 5 minutes it was like Halloween, and I think I went as like a bride or something, and I think I'd taken my mom's lipstick. She didn't know. And I was a little
Mm.
sneak about it because I knew I couldn't have it. But I wanted my little red lips with my little Halloween costume. And I just
Aw.
remember I kept getting busted because every 5 minutes I was like going to the bathroom to like put it on. And the teachers were like, stop, you're being so vain. And or just like that like I think used to, it was more of like yeah, I don't know. But again, it could have just been that I was little. But I do feel like even like my space, I really like my space to, it's not that it has to be super beautiful in the superficial way or like be have like
Mhm.
all the top notch things or like be the best brands, but it's like I like a cozy, it's a feeling of a space. And a lot of times
Yes.
in order for space to feel warm to me and inviting, and like there's, I like colors, and I like
Mhm.
I usually a lot of colors. Like my walls are bare white, but then they're like covered with color, like colorful
Yeah.
art, and like my couch
Yeah.
is green with these colorful pillows, like yada yada
Yes.
yada. I
Yeah.
try to like add a bunch of color to a room because of like the feeling of it being
Yes.
cozy or homey is really important.
Yes. Yes.
Um
Yes. I feel
and
that
it's
with
like
every
you were
space you have.
distracting. You were like, don't pay attention to the information. Just get the overall feeling of the board,
Exactly,
judges.
exactly, exactly.
It's
It's
about what the
so
board makes
funny.
you feel, judges. Thank
Right.
you. That is a science, if you will, in itself. No,
Come
that's really
on.
funny. I
I
was just
mean,
curious, yeah, if
yeah.
Pisces was like, because I didn't think it was like, because what signs do have like, well, we know Scorpio, right, is a sign that sort of like, or I guess maybe it's not appearances as much as it's like, I think I'm mixing that up with money. Scorpio likes money.
Scorpio likes money. Well, Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus. I would say Taurus has a very
Um,
strong affinity toward beauty. Probably the
mm.
strongest.
So
Taurus and
maybe it is
Libra.
my Taurus rising.
I was gonna
That's
say, I
like
feel like what you're describing is very your Taurus combined with your Pisces in that like
interesting.
feeling, creating that feeling of comfort. But
I just
yeah,
want my insides to look like, or I want my outsides to look like my insides. I'm just trying to spruce
exactly.
myself up. Just kidding.
Yes,
So my
yes.
Pisces is saying. No,
No,
that's
totally.
interesting. That also, yeah. So maybe that's just a selfish point of view for me and my Taurus rising, but I wasn't sure if that's like what you more meant with your board. Um, but also just yeah, the procrastination, the last minute Pisces like pop of to get third place. So funny.
So
And very air of
ridiculous.
you, like we said.
So ridiculous. Yeah, there's actually
Anyways,
another experience I had that was like that, but I'll
really?
save that for another time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we could keep going.
I'll save that for like a Saturn heavy episode. Anyway.
Hell yeah.
Um
Anyways, back to Steve Jobs. I bombed it.
yes. Oh my God. There's so much to discuss. Again, a very spread out chart.
Mm,
But I think it's so interesting. First of all, his life is very interesting. The fact that like he was super into like spirituality and like he like dropped out of school, right? But then took
I
college
think so.
classes, just like walked into college classes without like actually signing up and registering and paying, just like wanted to learn, like had this thirst for learning.
Mm,
Um and but he was all like a hippie who didn't wear shoes and stuff. And
that's
I
right.
think he was like going to be I feel like I read somewhere that, or not that he was going to like pursue being a spiritual guru, but basically that like where he was going in life was very the opposite of where he ended up. And then he became friends with Steve Wozniak and like kind of became the boss of all of that because he had this like boss Aries moon in the 7th house with this Virgo
Mm,
rising that's very good at like critiquing. And he brought Apple to the next level just by aesthetics and yeah, refining it in a very Virgo way with that Pisces idealism. And I would say that Pisces is also like future thinking, coming, yeah, like
I
along
mean,
with
if you think
Aquarius.
about it, like, well, that's kind of like we talked about like the physical art to like Apple, but I think it's the way that like Steve Jobs, I mean, Apple has everyone by the balls.
I
Like Apple
know.
is the leading, it's just, I mean, everyone has an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually everyone has a Mac if they do have an
Mm-hmm.
iPhone. Um, I have a watch. I have the AirPods. I have the Beats that technically came with my Mac, and they have a partnership
Mm.
with Apple. So it's
Uh,
like I'm a little
yeah.
Apple bitch, and
No, me
like
too.
please, and through, and we'll stay one is because Steve Jobs was a Pisces. But like to me, it is so like the innovation of what he's created and how it did sort of like, yes, it's the leading brand of technology, but sort of like the user ease of like the world, like what like everyone around the world has Apple. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know not everyone, but it's still just like he did sort of set the technology game in a forward motion, but as you said,
Yes.
Heather, also elevated it at the same time. And I think it's like we talked about this, Pisces has that thirst for like a sort of not, maybe it's not Pisces, but like, or I guess it also could be his Aries moon. Like it's that reset, that like new energy. Like I want something different, a new
Mm.
change. I
Mm-hmm.
know, I think we also talked about Pisces sort of having that, or like, I'm not sure, like him maybe having like his third eye open to be like, hey, it's
Mm.
not just about like what's going to set technology apart. It's also like, I mean, that's like why I think Apple is so, it's the look of it, yes, but I also, it's like people always love comparing it to like an Android. I've had an Android. I actually ran over my iPhone in high school. My
Ah!
first one, all due respect to Steve Jobs, pure accident. Wasn't drunk, just was being silly. Totally forgot I put my phone on the roof of my car and then I
That's
ran
so
over it.
Pisces. I'm
Um,
sorry.
I literally was like putting shit in my car. I like a dummy. I like set my iPhone on top of it. It was even in that huge thick brick like OtterBox case, the
Mm.
pink and blue one, and
Mm-hmm.
my car ran right over it and it did not protect it.
Oh my
And my
God.
mom did not get insurance on it for me
Oh
when she got it for me. So like
no.
I had to like get an Android or something like that we had
Yeah.
around for a little until like that contract renewed or whatever. Um and everyone loves comparing it to Android. It's like your Android, an Android can do so much more, but it's like, but you seriously only use maybe a quarter of what an Android is capable of. And I think Steve Jobs, like in a very Pisces way, or I like to owe this to Pisces of
Yeah.
like, I hate doing shit for the sake of unnecessary purpose. It's not that
Mm-hmm.
I can't understand certain things or just like a formality, but like anytime it's ever come to work, not even from a place of like laziness and just like not wanting to work, but I just like, if I couldn't, this is like, I always had an issue with authority in this way. If I could not understand the reasoning behind
Right.
why, like, I just like, why do we have
Mm-hmm.
these rules? And it was like, because I said so. And I would be like, oh my
No,
God, you
that's
can't tell me
not.
that. Like,
Yeah.
That is seriously not like I genuinely need to understand the purpose behind this because
Totally.
it's not adding up in my head and it bothers
Yes.
me. But yeah, I think Steve Jobs is like it was just like it was more than just being like the leading in technology. It was like there was an advancement to it. He
Mm-hmm.
elevated the game.
Yeah.
In terms of like innovation and just also like design, sleekness, like just Apple
Mm-hmm.
products. They're
Yeah.
and then just truly being like the best on the market, like the quality.
Totally. Totally. I know it's got the
Mine's
Virgo
lasted me a
rising
decade.
quality.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
the Pisces intuitiveness, honestly. I feel like the iPhone is very intuitive.
Well,
Eh,
I think a lot of people hate that part about it. Just
really.
kidding. Or no, I'm more
Or
just
by
making
that
a
I
joke of
mean
like,
like you
no,
don't,
I hear you.
yeah, it's just easy to interact with.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but
It makes it so
yeah,
that it's like user friendly. Sorry, the
right,
cat's
right.
out here giving her a little
Oh,
attention.
cute, cute.
Um, it
But
looks like I'm letting out a fart, Heather. I wanted to be clear. I'm leaning over to pet the cat.
oh my God, I would not judge you either way.
um,
um,
but yeah, he also like it's so funny to hear about his hippie background. I forgot about that, but I remember hearing that like the way which I love this. Again, maybe this is Pisces of me, but like when I'm thinking and processing or trying to come up with ideas,
mhm,
I stand, I pace, I have to like get the blood
mhm.
moving. I have to this is flowing. And I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there, I can't. And I heard that he would a lot of times he would take his meetings outside by like walking
Mm,
around, which I kind
yeah.
of love that like that
That is
when I
really
heard that I was
cool.
like that's cool.
That is
Or
really cool.
because he had to he thought but he would think better if he was moving,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I find really fascinating.
That is really
Um
fascinating. Also, I should
please.
note that so the sun is in Virgo's house, which is the house
Mm.
of daily work, rituals, how you
Mm-hmm.
live a life and take care of yourself that supports your energy. But it's trine to Neptune, and that's the only aspect that his sun has. It doesn't interact with any other planets
Mm.
except have this trine to Pisces ruling planet. So it's like an extra dose of Pisces that he
Wow.
has. A dreamer, I'd say. Um,
Yeah, but it's like, and it's still like, I know that he made a ton of money. I know that there's probably a lot of selfish pride of like being the inventor of Apple, or even if you weren't the full inventor, taking credit for it at least.
right, right.
But it does feel like it was more important for him to make it for the world, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
Apple was a gift to us more than it was to him. Um,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. It's
yeah.
really especially when I just hear that he was on a completely different route and path. That's why it just doesn't sound like he was in it for this like selfish, like I'm here to get mine sort of way about things. It was more of
Yeah.
like I have an idea for maybe the best phone in creation.
Yeah. No, totally. I would agree. I would agree. Absolutely. I do think, I mean, I'm just taking what I saw in the like film adaptations
Right.
of his life. Really. I don't
Kate
know
Winslet.
him personally. Yeah. Actually I'm like more familiar with the Ashton Kutcher one.
Oh,
But
I see. I see. I see.
but according to that movie, at least his Aries moon temper did go off, and it seemed like the power got to him a little bit. But like
Mm,
I do also think that underneath all of that, like I think the goal was always a very Pisces
yeah.
dream, and in the way
Right.
you were describing, like a gift to humanity. Yeah.
Right.
Um
The Messiah
yeah.
of technology.
The Messiah of technology. He also has Mars in the seventh in Aries, which is like, ugh. It's really, I think it's the challenge of that position is to like not come off aggressive when you're dealing with like one-to-one interactions. It's
Mm,
having Mars in Aries in the house of like how you relate to others in a one-to-one capacity. That's like there's like a tendency to be a little bit too reactive, and then it's like and then I imagine his Pisces steps in and it's like damn it. um
mm. Didn't he have like tizzies with his daughter? Not
Ooh, I
tizzies,
don't
but like
know.
not tizzies. What I'm trying to say. I just remember his daughter being a main point in the movie with Kate Winslet. I want to say. Maybe I'm
Ooh,
wrong. I could totally be messing.
I don't
Listeners,
remember. I
write
don't
in and let me
remember.
know. I know I'm
I
messing
wouldn't be
something up.
surprised. um
Anything else in his chart, Heather, that you want to like flag?
Jupiter conjunct Uranus in the 10th house, opposite Venus in the 4th. Yeah, I think that there's a strong energy here that is pointing to an ability to like inspire the masses through your career. Uranus is also
Mm.
innovation. But yeah, opposite Venus in the 4th, he couldn't compromise that like need for family and secure home life with this need to like be a to serve the masses, you know, through career. And
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of from the film. Like it was just like that classic tale of like
yeah, I do
power
think
hungry
he dealt with
dad
that. Mhm.
who works nonstop, whose like business is his real baby. I
Yeah,
think that might be more of what it was.
no, I think that was a
Um,
thing.
Honestly, gone too soon. Steve Jobs
Ugh.
has so much more to like do.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, obviously, Apple continues.
Oh
Because
yeah.
he was pretty young when he passed, right?
Yeah, I want to say he
Like in his
was.
50s,
That
maybe
sounds
younger.
right. Yeah.
No, he wasn't in his 40s, was he? We can look it up, but
We can, yeah.
regardless, I forget what he died from. I know it was cancer. I just forget what kind.
Is it
Um,
leukemia?
or
Um,
we'll figure it out.
yeah.
But anyways, just yeah, truly like it's really interesting to cover a Pisces that's not artistic in the way that we're used to covering, or
Yes.
just in the ways
Yes.
that we would think. But
Yes.
when you think about Apple as a whole, I'm like there could not be more of like an artistic brand in terms of cell phones, computers, that technology in that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Totally. I
Uh,
agree. I also, yeah, last thing, I also think it's interesting that
Please.
Saturn is in Scorpio in the 3rd, because Saturn in the 3rd tends to be like a feeling of restriction when it comes to learning and early education. It's interesting that he dropped out of school, and that always felt like
Mm-hmm.
a limiting place, but then he
Pisces want to drop out of
willingly,
school.
I know, I feel that too. But he willingly like went to these college courses that I think were more about like yeah, I think he snuck into philosophy classes, which is very Saturn and Scorpio in the 3rd. Oh my god.
Mm,
I
that's
can
really
relate to it
interesting.
so much with my Jupiter in the 3rd and Scorpio of
And
like
just
not
being like
wanting to
ahead of his
learn
time.
math. Yeah.
Yeah, he feels very ahead of his time in his way, and just also like, yes, that there's something so limiting and like suffocating about school. I'm sure, especially for Pisces, or just like the way that like math is more serious than any art. And that
Yeah.
always, I never understood that. I never understood why like math was more important than drawing, or more
Right?
important than theater. I was like,
Uh
well, they're all subjects being taught.
yeah.
Like, why aren't they considered equal?
And why isn't
Um,
anyone telling me why I suck at this? Why
yeah.
can't
And why am I learning like 1,000 times % more math than I will ever be using
using
in the real world?
it's fucked up.
God, I said I was going to study theater since like day one of middle school. Why was I in AP
Right?
Calc?
And I guess the argument is like, well, it's like helpful to like exercise that logic part of
Waste
your
of my
brain.
brain
It's like, yeah,
space.
but I my brain's the same. I
Honestly,
I
I think
didn't need all that.
the most beneficial math class I ever took, just a side tangent, and then this will be a good segue into me bringing up the cringe quote, Heather.
Okay.
um but my most beneficial class was like the easiest math class you could take as a senior after I like completed all my major math credits.
Yeah.
I didn't want to not take a math class my senior year because I was really afraid of getting dropped from FSU or something, or just getting like,
Mm,
they kind of threaten that, like
yeah.
I was afraid of not taking enough credits or just taking all easy courses. So like
Yeah.
I did make sure to like take a math. I think maybe I had to take a math, but it's like I got all the hard ones out of the way. So I was allowed to take one of my choice. I think maybe that was more of it. But I took a math that was like college preparatory math. But the hardest part about it was like the easiest basic math. Like truly, we did
Mhm.
addition, we did subtraction, we did
Yeah.
division. But the only like trick is that you were not allowed to use a calculator, not a single calculator.
Mm,
So I had to like relearn long division. And like, but I like there was truly nothing more beneficial. It was actually truly a math class that I like could really keep up with the pace.
right.
But also like that was maybe the most helpful one. And it was such an easy math course, but it was so nice to be refreshed in my
Yeah.
brain, like quicker ways to add. And just like, it was nice to be, because I was so used to using a calculator all the time.
Right.
Anyways,
That does sound
we
useful.
digress. We digress. But listeners, if you're in high school, hang up or turn it off. If you're in high school, stop. Get out of here. Oh my God. I said the F word. Not the F word, but fuck. Not like the real F word. Okay. Anyway, Jesus. Moving on. Heather, speaking of high school, speaking of cringe courses like math, speaking
Ugh.
of cringe city, my high school my high school senior yearbook quote was the next birth chart we're about to cover. None other than Albert Einstein, the Pisces himself. First of all, the quote was like maybe 4 pages long.
Really?
But it was just so long. Like, I can't believe it was. I think it had to have just been right at the word count. Like, classic Gemini moon. But like, I found this Albert Einstein quote and I loved it. It really spoke to me. And at the time, again, I had no idea he was a Pisces. So it's just so funny that I find this out later after I'm paying attention to this shit more. But again, innovative, kind of a genius, super big smarty pants. Albert Einstein also flunked out of classes. We'll get into that really quick. Sorry, Heather. But also, like, it was like he was just so fascinated. He was like, why are we learning about this when there's this shit going on?
Right?
And we can study this now. Like,
Yeah.
again, I think it's that Pisces limitation of like, it's not that Pisces doesn't want to learn, but the structure in which schools, public or private, do it is so opposite of the learning form. Yes, it's just so against what learning means to a Pisces and what it could be. We digress. But the quote is, "Strange is our situation here on earth. Each of us comes for a short time, not knowing why, yet somehow seeming to divine a purpose."
I have
Is
goosebumps.
that not the most Pisces fucking thing you ever heard?
I want to cry.
I loved that quote the second I read it, and I was like, that's my high school yearbook quote. And I think I knew it was going to be my quote for like all 4 years that I was there. But
love
that spoke volumes to me. Like, I loved it. I still love it to this day. But it is just so funny that I quoted Albert Einstein.
That is so, I know.
But now I actually feel less dumb about it because he is a Pisces.
And also, that is such a like spiritual, amazing quote. Oh my God.
And I can't remember this for sure. The listeners will let me know if I'm wrong. But I want to say Albert Einstein is maybe one of the, I think it might have been Stephen Hawking. Sort of same thing. But regardless, one of them like said like the more doctors study science and the more like scientists study science, the more and more they get closer to spirituality because of just how insane it all is. Like, the more you study, and that's like, I find that funny, like because like I feel like the longer I live life, the more I have real life experiences of spirituality just more in my face in ways that it's too coincidental. I can't deny it. And I think it's really interesting that the more you research and look into science, a lot of people start believing in shit like God, because they're just like, there's no other explanation for what I'm looking at. Like, it's that now that I'm thinking about it, I do think it might have been Stephen Hawking, but
I feel like there was something similar with Albert Einstein too, though. I feel like that does ring a bell for me.
But yeah, isn't that a beautiful quote? I love that quote.
Love.
That was my high school senior year quote. But yes, anyways, looking at his chart closer, Heather.
Oh my goodness.
So he's a Pisces sun, born in Germany, which I actually didn't know. But also I was just there. I felt the ambiance. Really close to my birthday. He's a March 14th Pisces. So he's super March Pisces, sun in Pisces, moon in Sagittarius, and then Cancer rising. So that's all pretty fascinating. And it's just interesting, like when we were just talking about this too, Heather, Steve Jobs like dropping out of school. We talked about like it being limiting in that way. I feel like Pisces sometimes does get the idea for being really like daydreaming in a negative sense, or like they're so busy daydreaming that they don't get shit done. But again, it's like when you have that Pisces daydream element to a sign like Virgo and Aries, like with Steve
Yes.
Jobs,
Yes.
or like or another fire paired with like a go forward sign, you're like unstoppable, because it's not a matter of like if your dreams are going to come true. It's like when you have a certain sort of like
Yes.
lineup. I think every Pisces has the
Yes.
capability to tap into that.
Totally.
I think they get laughed at a little bit for their, I think to some people Pisces ideals are like insane, but
Right.
like it's just, again, it's really interesting to me that these like two smarty pants, again, it's like they took something like brains and smarts and
Mhm.
technology or just science and they made it art. Not that it isn't already. It's like they brought the art to the overall realm of
Yeah.
what it like we wouldn't necessarily call these people artists,
Mhm.
right? But in the way in which they did the things they did in this
Yes.
realm and like in
Yes.
that degree, it is an art form
Oh
in the way they
yeah.
did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
No,
think
I
that's a
think
lot on
so.
their Pisces. I really
Totally.
do.
No,
Even though they both
absolutely.
have like go forward, let's fucking do it
Mhm.
elements to their charts.
Yes.
And we'll look more into Albert's here, Mr. Albert's here in a second. But yeah, I just do feel like if anything, the more we've been studying Pisces as a sign, the more I've been feeling this season recently, the more we've been just doing birth charts of these famous Pisces that we know, the more I'm like, oh, Pisces absolutely has elements to it of like, let's get it. I think Pisces dreams are what drive it.
Yes.
And if that makes sense, it's like
Yes.
the daydreaming almost is the fuel,
Totally,
which is,
totally. Yes. I feel that not to get too sidetracked here, but like I feel that in my life so much. Like I feel like the daydreaming is the thing that distracts me, but it's also the thing that I don't know, the like the knowledge I've accumulated from like studying astrology, which I see as a very Pisces pursuit, is like the thing that reminds me like, oh, I have to go after the stuff I want. Like it's or spirituality. It just like reminds me like, no, I have a right to like pursue things with my heart. And I have the
yes,
courage now because I've thought about this so
yes.
much and I feel it. Um
And I think, well, and just kind of going off of that too, Heather, sorry, I just want to
no, no,
add,
no,
like,
yeah.
I think in the way that Pisces is so connected to that spiritual realm, right? This is the rep it gets. It's kind of known for being like 1 foot in the spiritual realm, one
Hmm.
foot
Hmm.
in, did I just say the spiritual realm? The spiritual realm, the realm. 1 foot into the spiritual realm, 1 foot in reality. And I think because of that too, Pisces is like very aware of immortality. It's very aware that there's like an
Yes.
end to this reality because of how connected to the spiritual realm it is. And so that's also weirdly sort of the drive to do big adventurous or be
So
great
why not go
things.
for it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I think Pisces out of a lot of the signs is more of like the one that's a little more like, well, why not me? Or like,
Right.
if it can happen, then let's,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's been
absolutely.
a really nice sort of finding. And I think maybe Pisces isn't, I maybe doesn't necessarily get that rep because I don't think it's also a sign that's in your face about it. I think Pisces is really good about internal drive and sort of the internal dreams and desires in a way of like sort of keeping that always on the surface when Pisces is sad and wants to escape or yada yada.
Right.
It's like remembering the big picture is the only way to stay focused, right?
Yes,
Or to
yes.
stay on the day-to-day grind. Because I
Right.
think sometimes Pisces can get so wide scoped
Mhm.
in a way that maybe isn't as productive as it could be.
Mhm.
Um, which is maybe more of the, like the rep it gets. But yeah, I think without its like dreaming capabilities and dream capacity, it wouldn't be nearly as productive as it is. I don't know. Weirdly,
Yeah,
I'm like,
no, I agree.
what else would drive Pisces
Yes, yes.
besides just pure like compassion, perhaps, or like,
Yeah, totally, totally. The Virgo
hey,
Pisces access. Virgo needs Pisces, Pisces needs Virgo. They have to
yes,
balance each
yes.
other.
And it's so funny that you say that because my dad and I have been we've been having a lot more phone calls recently, just sort of like keeping in touch more. And again, in my very Pisces way, I had a moment where I came home late from work and I knew my dad was off the next day, so I had a feeling he was up late, but I was like, maybe I don't want to bother him. And I kind of like hesitated. And then very Pisces of me, I was like, he could die tomorrow. Like, or I was just like, he could see, like, like my brain went 8 times
Yeah.
the widest scope. And I was like, yeah, I should give him a call. Or like in my Pisces way, I was like, he just lost his dad and doesn't have the like ability to call him. Like, you better call him while you still can. And I'm like, why does everything have to be so fucking, sometimes I'm like, get a grip. And like,
Oh.
I called him and it was really chill. But my dad is so open-minded. It's something that he gets very frustrated with other people about too. And he's a Virgo sun. And I always have found that like I love that quality of him. And he's just really, and when I say open-minded, he's open-minded, not just in a logical reality sense. He loves the idea of like, of course we don't know shit about shit. Of course there's life on other planets. Like and it's
I love
not
that.
super in your face and not like a doomsday prepper, not like super like not a part of the NRA, like not
Right.
not in an alarming way, but he is just so like, we don't know shit about shit, and very open minded to the spiritual realm. Really loves like talking about it with me, and gets very frustrated with anyone who kind of shuts it down. And like my dad kind of, I don't know if he would say this. I'm going to say this for him. He can come on the pod and correct us later, but like he's definitely, I think he would agree that religion in this, like, again, in the human way that we understand it, in terms of how we created a bunch of religions that interpret the Bible, that again, I'm not saying God didn't write to some degree, or a higher up or a bigger realm didn't write, didn't send the messaging to. Maybe, I think a Pisces human probably definitely wrote the Bible. I think Jesus was real and definitely a Pisces.
Yeah.
Maybe just a lot more in touch with that intuitive side.
Yeah.
Not schizophrenic, but maybe genuinely hearing, like, just connected. I don't know.
Totally.
Like there is a part of me that's like, that kind of checks out more than literally anything else. I'd believe that before all the rest of it.
Right.
But yeah, there's just this idea. I forgot where I was going at.
Were you going with like religion got lost somewhere?
The way it's limiting, the way it's like, to me, the thank you for getting me back on track.
I felt like I knew where you were going.
Wherever there's a Pisces off track is an Aquarius to reel them back on over here. But yeah, I think that the more I got away from the limiting, what felt like limiting religion in the way that we understand it and know it, the more I got away from it, the more spiritual I became, and the more connected I actually like did come.
Yeah, same.
Did become. Yeah. And it's just like, of course, Albert Einstein is going to study and try to find out every answer he possibly can in this realm, especially when he knows that this life is like, it's like, I feel like as a Pisces, you're just living every day as a ticking clock. You're so aware of your existentialism, or like you're just always in existentialism. You don't really have a choice. It kind of feels like, and that's also a huge motivator, I think, that Pisces has, to a lot of like, I have to do these dreams before I die. Like it is that big. It is that like grand. Anyways, but yeah, other than that, Heather, I think that's really kind of much all I want to say on our Einstein. Also it looks like a very, for the most part, balanced chart, or like it's almost not maybe not so much balanced as it is just like, it's not all on one section. Definitely a little more top heavy.
Very top
I don't know
heavy.
but also still like, I feel like we've seen some charts and there's just white abysses.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost like his whole chart has color, but yes, definitely a little more top heavy.
Yeah.
Or would you,
totally.
Heather, would you call this a balanced chart? Maybe I'm completely reading it wrong, actually, now that I think about it.
I think that it's very I think it's very top heavy. I mean, I think that it is,
I maybe just do not know what I'm looking at.
No. I think it is balanced in that there's the moon in the 6th, the Cancer rising. Those themes are a bit more personal, the personal sphere of life, the home and dealing with identity and just personal things. But yeah, the majority of the planets are on the top. However, a lot of the top planets are also like outer planets, and they're felt less personally. But well, no, I think there is balance. Then there's Mars in the 7th. It's hitting all the things. It's just mostly
I also
top
just
heavy.
genuinely realized I don't think I know how to read these. Like I kind of like, it took me a while to be like, oh, everyone's just kind of tilted. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's the degree thing you're talking about, Heather. And like, it took me
Right, right,
forever
right.
even just to learn that. So
Oh, I
again, like,
know.
don't feel you're not hurting my feelings. I'm just more of
Yeah.
like, just bounce, right? And you're like, I would call it top heavy. I'm like, all right, I'm still learning. But again, I
Yeah.
think I just found out
Oh, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
degree thing.
Right, right,
Um,
totally.
but yeah, no, I do think all in all, like Albert Einstein, obviously he's one of the greats, like one of the smartest beings, but a lot of his shit felt big picture. And I think that's why he's one of the greats. I think so much
Yeah.
of his Pisces is why
And
his legacy is.
totally. The Sag moon too is like
Please.
nice. Yeah.
Pizzazz. That
Yeah,
picture
but
where he's sticking out
also
his tongue, like he's got self-awareness out the wazoo. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
yeah.
Albert Einstein knew it was up.
Yeah.
Like I feel like him and I would have been friends.
Oh, totally.
He's
Oh
like,
my
no, you're the
God.
dumbest bitch I've ever met. No, I would love to talk aliens with
Albert
Albert
would come on the
Einstein.
pod. Absolutely.
Albert, visit me in my dream tonight. Talk to me about the aliens.
We'll communicate it to the masses through the podcast.
All right, Heather, you want to get into some more sky movement before we sign off?
Yes, major activity. Here we come.
Ah, just what a fabulous time, Heather. What a
Truly.
choppy, watery season it's been, but in a bunch of beautiful ways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A cleanse, if you will.
A cleanse. I love a
Is
cleanse.
this Pisces season for real?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a cleanse, folks. Just bear with it. It's good for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Heather, shall we talk about what the heck is going on in this active ass sky?
What isn't going on?
She said it, folks.
Well, okay, so as we're recording this, it's March 6th. You will be listening to this if you listen to it as soon as it comes out on March 9th. But on March 7th is the full moon in Virgo, but it's a extra charged full moon because it's the same day that Saturn enters Pisces. And Saturn hasn't been in Pisces since the 90s. It's been in Aquarius for the past 3 years. Now we have 3 years of Saturn in Pisces starting this week. It's major.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's really exciting because, we've been talking about this the past few episodes, but it's really about taking those Pisces ideals and figuring out how to make it tangible, make it real, make it Saturn. So I'm very excited about that. I feel like it's a great time to be doing an astrology podcast. It's a great time to they say it's a great time to, pursue goals that are like astrology, spiritual. It's time for the spiritual people to
rise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then on yes. So this month is very exciting. This week is sort of like the weird lead up to the active energy. So on March 12th, Jupiter conjuncts Chiron. And Chiron is the wound. It's the wounded healer archetype, and Jupiter is the planet of big, expansive, abundant energy. And so, that could go either way. It could really bring to the surface your wounds or the ways that you feel wounded. Your flaws could come to the surface.
Oh
but
my God.
It's also a great time to reflect and think about how you can heal those things, or how you can be at peace, because we're all human, we're all flawed, we're all imperfect.
The inner child work, as the
Exactly.
therapy tag is. Yeah, I've been researching a lot, watching TikToks, and they were TikTok on the astrology sort of spiral I went on was talking about how Pisces season, in the midst of like reflection, and when it does bring a lot of like ugly to the surface for you, it's a time to really, like, again, in the Pisces way, not suppress that, not run from it, but like really embrace it. Pisces is the time, if you're ever going to embrace like your shadow self, is another like buzz phrase I know that we love to use, but like there's ever a time to sort of embrace that and really work on those inner sort of wounds it's this
Pisces.
time, especially before we launch into like forward Aries. Because just remember, if you try to sweep it under the rug or whatever and not deal with it, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just under the rug. You eventually have to lift that rug up. You got to get the broom out. You got to really get those dust bunnies. Okay.
You
It
do.
doesn't go anywhere. It's just under the rug. And you know it's there. And it's like worse to know that you got to, and then the rug starts collecting more and more piles that you put under there. And then eventually it's like a bigger mess when you finally lift the rug up. But it's a mess nonetheless. That's your responsibility to clean.
The universe will send a gust of wind and lift that rug right up.
Yeah.
And
The
you don't
universe
want
will
that.
It'll put like a stain on the rug, so you have to take it out. Oh yeah, she'll be tricky with it. And then not so tricky, she'll be really in your face with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if there's ever been a time, I think, to embrace that darkness,
I agree.
and the shit that scares you, this is it. That's all you can do in Pisces. Feel it. It's Pisces way. Oh, and then you hit the Aries, and you're free of all your baggage, all of it.
Yeah, no,
magically healed.
Yeah, and we have that to look forward to, but we have to get through this other stuff first. And it's
Only way
interesting.
through is through.
It's true. It's Aries is coming right around the corner. Saturn's entering Pisces. Pluto's entering Aquarius at the end of this month, and we also have the spring equinox, the start of the astrological new year. The Aries new moon is happening right around the corner, and it's all this like fiery, active, cardinal, initiatory energy. But this week, Mars is a little debilitated. Like Mars is squaring Pisces and Neptune on the 15th, and so that action planet is uncomfortable. It's in that Pisces nebulous space. And the Sun and Mercury in Pisces are also going to connect with Neptune on March 16th. So yeah, this is really the time to reflect, to really think, to get into the feelings, to be sure about what you want on a heart level before you're ready to take action. We're not at the action point yet, but this time is necessary.
We're gearing up. Yeah. And that's the Pisces way. It's sort of like your heart knows before you do.
Yes.
Lead with your heart during this time. Embrace with your heart. Put your heart out there a little bit, and then also do some little at-home heart work with it, you know? Yeah, what a beautiful I love how you put that, Heather. Just the entire way you articulated that was really very Pisces of you.
Thank you.
Respectfully.
Thank you.
It was just very beautiful.
Oh yes.
No, yeah, it's listeners, listen. Come on, I wasn't even trying. Yeah, no, this has been definitely as heavy as this time has been, in a way that I think I was telling you before we started recording, Heather, that I was like, what the fuck? As a Pisces, this is supposed to be a beautiful, perfect, happy-go-lucky time for me. And I'm like, oh, as a Pisces, this has been a heavy Pisces season. And I'm sure I'm just feeling that energy a lot extra. I'm sure anyone who's a Pisces or has a lot of Pisces in their chart is feeling this. I think right now, a lot of people, we are just kind of feeling Pisces right now. It's been a heavy one, and there's been a lot of movement in this season in general, like you said, Heather. But it's just the ebbs and flows.
It is.
We're on our way back to, we're in the peak of Pisces season right now, and we're on our way back up towards the gear up into this fun Aries fire. Not that Pisces hasn't been fun too, but oh my God, she just has been loaded this season.
Yeah.
She really
Saturn.
She really
Saturn
came to
has that ring. I was gonna
magnetic pull.
The hula hoop. I don't know what I'm saying.
The belt.
The belts. That's a better. Yeah.
I have no idea what it's called.
That sounds right.
I think it's called the ring. It's rings.
Yeah. Well, either way, Saturn makes you face the limitations. It has the rings. It has the guard, and it's entering Pisces. But we can make our dreams real. Everybody, feel inspired.
Just like you got to really feel the heavy, also dream with your whole heart. Like feel with your whole heart right now. Let the heavy pass through you. But holy shit, make some big manifestations.
Yeah.
Journal that shit out, write it down, promise yourself, like, again, now is the time to do it. There's truly like, again, I love that this is such a reflective time, and it feels like we're getting a second new year, Heather, or like we had our calendar new year. Now we have our astrological one in Pisces. Is just like truly a time to like write your resolutions down. Like, truly.
Yes.
Take your time to rest, y'all. Feel your shit. And like, let's get ready for it. What a fun one. Shouts out to Albert Einstein and Steve Jobs. Pisces
Repost
artist.
us, Albert.
Oh, God bless. Surely he's got some descendants. I'll look into it. But yeah, we love you, listeners. Happy Pisces season. Stay strong out there.
Yes.
Take some naps. Let the brain fog wash you away.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, if there's ever a time to lean into it, like fuck. Who cares?
Definitely.
My God. I love you, Heather.
I love you so much.
We love you, listeners. We'll see you next Thursday right back here.
Yes, we will.
Kisses. Just keep swimming.
Infinite abundance.
Infinite abundance.
Bye-bye.
Bye.